So, let me ask you, what in the world is world history? What does it mean to study the history of the entire world, with all of its bewildering diversity of cultures and societies, with all of its different politics, all the different kinds of world religions and philosophies? And what about all of the wars and conflicts all across the globe? What about the billions and billions of human beings, the overwhelming majority of them whose names we'll never remember or never know? You know, it's estimated that there is some 7 billion people alive in the world today, and that's just a tiny fraction of the 108 billion people who've lived in human history. How can we possibly account for all of those lives, those people who in small and big ways shape the entire world that we live in today? How do we even get our arms around this? Well, thankfully, this class, History 308, covers only the period from 1500 or so till roughly this morning. And I say thankfully because if this class were History 307, we'd be expected to absorb the history of the world from, I don't know, somewhere back at the dawn of the first humans 200,000 years ago, all the way up till the year 1500. It's kind of ridiculous. Luckily, we only have to master a little over 600 years, but 600 years! Consider how much has happened in the last 6 centuries. The world is a completely different place than it was in the year 1500. Just imagine a person from anywhere on the earth in 1500, in that age, who stepped into a time machine and reappeared over in the year 2018. He or she would take one look around and immediately lose their mind. Nothing they saw would make any sense. Not only has technology and communications completely transformed the way people live almost everywhere on the planet today, but the human race is now more interconnected than ever before as a globe. It is truly a global situation in ways both direct and indirect. Our lives have been globalized, whether we like it or not, and that is the case whether or not you ever leave your own hometown. There's no escaping globalization. To take a little experiment, just take a look at the shirt you're wearing right now and think about the research you'd have to do to figure out everything it took to make that shirt, to bring you that awesome banana sweater that you're wearing right now. All the different parts of the planet, all the labor involved, the resources and material it's made out of, and where it was manufactured. That is globalization. So how do we explain this momentous transformation in our lives since 1500? That is the central question of this class, and it is certainly a complicated and complex one to answer. And the challenge for us, all of you and me, is even greater because we've got to do this all in one semester. That's 16 weeks to explore 600 years of human history and understand it and master it. And we've got to do this whole thing entirely online. It's just straight up boggles the mind. But don't worry. This course is designed to bring some organization to the vast chaos of human history and to focus on some key themes and questions to take us through the material over these 16 weeks. So in this first video, as an introduction, I'm going to give you an overview of the course and the overarching themes of the class. Then I'll walk you through the syllabus and Canvas so you can know exactly what to expect over this semester. And finally, I'll show you specifically what we'll be working on for next week when things begin to really move. So watch this entire video all the way through and pay attention to everything. Everything you need to know for the first week is in this video. Take notes because there'll be a little orientation quiz that you'll need to take by this coming Sunday. And all the information you need for it will come from this video. As an added bonus, with this orientation quiz, you'll begin earning points in this class. So there's that. If there is one central theme for this entire course, it is globalization. Now, this term itself can be pretty ambiguous and often confusing. Historians and scholars constantly debate when globalization began, what forces and factors drove it, and even whether or not the word means anything significant at all. So, rather than give you a definition of the word right at the start of the class, I'm going to ask you to think about the question throughout the entire 16 weeks that we're working together. What is globalization? What does it really mean? And because this is a history class, the most important question of all, how and why did it happen? In a very big way, the story that we'll be studying through this entire class is the story of globalization. Now, one thing is for certain, the entire world has certainly changed dramatically over the last 6 centuries, as its societies have become more and more connected to each other, profoundly transformed and integrated into something that we might call the modern global system. It's also clear that global integration has changed all aspects of human society, that this change is economic, that is, the world has become more economically integrated, that it's also political, that globalization is driven by political forces that have reshaped the whole map of the world over this period. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, globalization is profoundly cultural. Global forces have created integrations and cultural overlap that is unprecedented in human history. So here are the two overarching questions to keep at the top of your mind as we move forward through world history in this class. First, how and why did the various and diverse regions of the world become intimately connected and integrated economically, politically, and culturally since 1500? And second, in what specific ways were the societies and cultures of the world transformed by these processes of globalization? And how did those societies and cultures in turn shape the modern global system? These are big questions, I know, so help me to figure out the answers. I'm with you in this. As I mentioned, scholars like to argue and debate everything. And one of the things they like to fight over is whether or not globalization really is a new phenomenon at all. Some argue that human beings have been moving and interacting with each other all over the planet for thousands of years, trading stuff over large distances, constantly conquering each other, blending their cultures and religions, and so on. So that, they say, globalization has always been a part of human history. Well, I'm going to make an argument here that you may or may not agree with, but it will help us to focus the story that we're going to follow in this class. The argument is this: world history doesn't really begin until 1492. Now that's a bold statement. What do I mean? Simply this: before Christopher Columbus stumbled into the Caribbean islands and kicked off the European invasion of the Americas, there was no significant interaction between the humans who lived in the Eastern Hemisphere and those living in the Western Hemisphere. For some 15,000 years, the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans served as barriers to any real integration of all of the world's cultures. But very rapidly after Columbus's famous or infamous, depending on who you ask, voyage, European powers began the aggressive process of tying the hemispheres together through systems of overseas trade and empire, which would enrich and empower the countries of Europe and lay the groundwork for the modern world economic system. Now, this leads us to a second theme for the class: imperialism. The process of globalization did not just happen like a force of nature, and it was not neutral. Rather, global integration was driven primarily by the demands of European empires. Empires that extended into the Atlantic and Indian Oceans in the 1400s and then grew over the next 500 years through aggressive colonization of most of the world. So that, by the year 1914, European powers claimed some form of direct or indirect control over some 80% of the planet. As more and more non-European societies and empires of the world were pulled into this emerging global imperial system, their cultures were continuously challenged, traumatized, transformed, and hybridized. European imperialism created massive imbalances of power, economic, political, and cultural inequalities of a large scope and scale, which became built into the world system itself. The legacy of imperialism can be seen directly in the great disparity of wealth in the current modern global system. So the question for this class when it comes to imperialism are the basic ones. How and why did it happen? Now, the responses of the colonized peoples to imperialism were as diverse and complex as the cultures themselves. Part of the story that we'll be studying is how different people responded to the dramatic rise of European imperialism. And this leads us to our third theme, cross-cultural interaction. Now, this is a very complicated process. Although the balance of power between the colonizer and the colonized was massively skewed, those subjected to European empires were never passive. There was resistance, there was assimilation, there was hybridization of cultures, processes which transform both sides of the power dynamic. So for this theme, I want you to be thinking about this question. How were the cultures of the colonizers and the colonized transformed by their unequal interaction with each other? Now, finally, there are two final course themes, which we'll be focusing on primarily in the second half of the class: modernization and nationalism. Again, these are complicated but very important concepts for understanding world history, and we'll be spending some time going through these as we get to them later on in the course. Historians call this entire period that we're looking at in this class the modern age, or the modern period. But what does that really mean? What does modernization mean? Or another way to ask it is, what does it mean to be modern? And more importantly for our class, how did modernization relate to the rise and fall of imperialism? What role did modernization play in our understanding of the whole process of globalization? Then there's the next concept, nationalism. As European empires spread across the Americas, Asia, and Africa, the societies and cultures they attempted to control responded in diverse ways, one of which was through the rise of nationalist movements opposing colonization. Many of these movements, paradoxically, borrowed from European ideas about modernization to resist colonialism in the name of independence and sovereignty. The current map of the world today is a result of these contentious, sometimes violent encounters as the old imperial systems eventually crumbled in the 20th century. So the questions we'll be asking when we get to this theme are: how did non-European nationalist movements challenge the imperial heart of globalization? And furthermore, in what ways were the nations of the world today shaped by the legacy of imperialism? Now, we just went over the course themes here, so keep these in mind. The main theme is globalization. The main story of this class is about how and why the world became more and more integrated economically, politically, and culturally. The sub-themes that we'll be exploring, kind of in order, are imperialism, cross-cultural interaction within the cauldron of imperialism, modernization, and nationalism. Alright, if you're still with me, let's go over the syllabus now and take a tour around Canvas and go over the course schedule so you can learn all about the details of this class and its requirements. And remember, like everything else in this video you've been watching, what we're about to go over is potential material for the orientation quiz, which you'll need to take by 11:59 p.m. this coming Friday, January 24th, in order to remain in the class. Be sure to take this quiz by that deadline to show that you've absorbed the content of this video. And also, while you're at it, stop over at the Who We Are discussion board in Canvas and post a little blurb about yourself so that I and your fellow students can begin to get to know each other a little bit better. And do that by 11:59 p.m. this Sunday, January 26th. I'll kick off the discussion with some general questions and a prompt to respond to, and also some info about myself. And these are the two things that you must do by those deadlines in order to remain enrolled in the class. You can consider this orientation video and quiz, as well as the Who We Are discussion board, to be like showing up for the first day of class and participating. If you do not do this, you'll be dropped from the course, and no one wants that to happen. Also, this is a way to start earning points before the class even begins. So both of these items are required in order to stay enrolled, and you'll get points for participation. Now, before we get into the specifics of the syllabus, I just want to remind you all that the only thing you'll need to purchase for this class is the textbook. That's Traditions and Encounters, Volume 2, the 6th edition. You can buy this book at the Sac City College bookstore. You can buy it online. You can buy it new or used. You could rent it. You could buy or rent the ebook version. Whatever way you do it, make sure that it is Volume 2 and make sure it's the 6th edition, and be sure to have it by the start of the second week of class. That's Monday, January 28th. So do a little hunting around for good prices. You could rent it, you can buy it yourself. For your own, you can buy the ebook version as long as it's this volume and this edition. And this textbook is absolutely essential to this class. The quizzes in the class are based on the specific material in this book. You'll need to refer to it in your discussion board posts, and it'll be a key secondary source of all your written assignments. But also, I've designed the entire course around the kind of skeleton of the textbook. So when you get the book, take a look at it, flip through it, and see what we're going to be doing over the course of the semester. I've divided the course schedule into 3 large sections, which correspond roughly with the 3 major parts of the textbook. Those sections are connecting the globe, global imbalances, and global realignments, moving in chronological order. You can think about these title headings a little bit and what they might mean. You'll also find as we move along that these titles relate directly to and tell the story of the course themes that I laid out in the first part of the video. So we start with connecting the globe, which corresponds to the textbook's part called The Origins of Global Interdependence. This tells the story of how the world began to become integrated. The time period for that first section is 1500 to 1800. This is sometimes called the early modern period, and this is when we see the groundwork being laid for the massive expansion of European imperial powers in the world. This section includes the textbook chapters 22 to 27, and we'll be exploring these from weeks 2 through week 7. Something you'll notice immediately about the way this textbook is organized is that each chapter in each section goes over the same period of time, in this case 1500 to 1800, but they move around geographically. So for example, chapter 23 covers changes in Europe from 1500 to 1800. Chapter 24 covers the Americas and Oceania from 1500 to 1800. Chapter 25 moves to Africa and covers the period 1500 to 1800, and so on. So get used to the way that we'll be going over the same period of time, but in different parts of the world from week to week. The same format applies to the second section of this course called Global Imbalances, which covers the period from 1750 to 1914, or what historians sometimes call the late modern period. Again, think about what these titles mean. Reflect on the overview I gave earlier about what it took to create an integrated global system and the inequalities that were built into it through the processes of imperialism. The chapters that focus on this part of the story are chapters 28 to 32, and we'll be handling those for the weeks from week 8 through week 11. This will bring us up to the year 1914. At that point, we'll be dealing with the contemporary period, that is 1914 on to the present. The chapters that focus on this are chapters 33 to 38, and we'll cover those in the last 5 weeks of the course. And that'll bring us right up to the world we live in today by the end of this semester. Here we see the syllabus for History 308 online. You can find this syllabus in Canvas. On the left-hand menu in Canvas, you'll see syllabus. Just click on it. You can download this in PDF form, or the whole list of assignments and requirements and calendar is laid out in Canvas right there under syllabus. But we'll look at that when we get to the Canvas page. For now, I just want to go through and introduce you to the course and the requirements of the class, the things that we'll be doing in the class, the course schedule, all the assignments and deadlines, and what's required of you in order to do well in this class. This is the front page of the syllabus where you can see my email address, baltonp@flc.losrios.edu. You can contact me there directly, or more appropriately, contact me through the inbox tool in Canvas. The course description will be doing a survey of world history from 1500 up to the present, focusing on the dynamic interaction of cultures and peoples. We'll be talking about the social, political, economic, cultural, and intellectual forces that have shaped all the major world civilizations from 1500 all the way up to the present, including ongoing tension between tradition and modernity. So get ready for that. The required text, like we already discussed, is Traditions and Encounters. I want to emphasize that you get the 6th edition. Make sure it's volume 2, which is from 1500, and there is the ISBN number right there just to make sure that you get the correct version. Now you can rent this book, you can get a hard copy, you can purchase the e-book version of it, as long as it's the correct volume and the correct edition. That's volume 2, 6th edition. All the other reading materials that we'll be using in the class, all the other materials I'll be posting on Canvas. This class is fully online, so it takes place primarily through the course Canvas website. You'll need to have access, of course, to a computer and the internet and have an active Los Rios Gmail account. So be prepared to check that account and check Canvas frequently for announcements and reminders and updates. You'll see here the list of the course objectives. These are the student learning outcomes for History 308 for Sac City College. So you can go through those and take a look at all the different kinds of skills that we'll be developing over the course of the semester. Now, this is the important part right here, the requirements. It's important to realize right at the start that online courses, by their very nature, can be more challenging than on-ground classes. So an online class requires a certain amount of discipline because we won't be meeting in person. So you'll be checking Canvas frequently, and you'll need to keep up on all the deadlines and due dates. I'll be reminding you of this all throughout the semester in videos, in emails, and announcements on the Canvas board, but you really need to stay vigilant in order to avoid falling behind. And I'll be vigilant as well. I want all of you to really succeed. That's why I'm here. I'm here to do that, and I've designed all kinds of methods to stay into frequent contact with you. So here are the major specific course requirements. The first are online video presentations. So every week there'll likely be at least one extensive video presentation that I'll produce for this particular class. And I want you to think of this video as taking place of a regular in-class session. Sort of lecture material, but also not just the historical content that could appear on a quiz or writing assignment, but it also, these videos include updated information on the assignments, prompts for the discussion boards, guides to the weekly quizzes and writing assignments. And there will frequently be additional videos as well on history writing and to follow up on previous work. Reading assignments are absolutely critical, so anything that we cover in the textbook, in the primary sources, other online readings, this is all fair game for the quizzes, for discussion board topics, and for papers. The video presentations are not just going to repeat what's in the textbook, but it's going to build on them and kind of and bring the ideas together. And comments on the and questions on the discussion board must be based on your careful reading of these sources. So be prepared to participate frequently in the discussion boards, which we'll talk about shortly. Now, getting down to the actual grades, the third component here are module quizzes. So throughout the semester, I'm going to be subjecting you to 9 scheduled online quizzes. The questions in these quizzes are based specifically on the material in the textbook, other readings, and the weekly videos. And they'll require you to do critical analysis of the reading. There's no multiple choice questions. This is going to be paragraph writing in these quizzes that'll require you to engage with the material in the textbook and think about it critically. The questions will be highlighted frequently throughout the videos, the main video of the week, to help you guide your reading, and they must be completed in Canvas by the Sunday night of each week that one is scheduled. So I want you to think about this class as basically taking place from Monday through Sunday. Every week starts on Monday, ends on Sunday, and that'll be beyond the orientation, which we're doing for this weekend. Week 1 will officially end on Sunday the 26th. Week 2 picks up on Monday the 27th and goes through the following Sunday. So Sunday is the end of each week, as we'll see in the course schedule. The deadline for every quiz is listed in the course schedule below, as we'll see shortly in the syllabus, and it's also posted in the course calendar in Canvas. The deadlines are absolutely firm, so once you hit that deadline of 11:59 p.m. on Sunday night, that quiz closes and you won't be able to retake it. Your 2 lowest quiz grades will get dropped at the end of the semester, so although there's 9 of them for the whole semester, I'm dropping the lowest 2 grades, so your final grade will be based on your best 7 quiz scores. So I'm going to show you more about these quizzes when we get into the Canvas portion. This is just laying out the specific requirements. So that's a major piece, is the module quizzes. The next major piece are papers. There's going to be 4 short papers, minimum 4 pages each, that are due in weeks 4, week 8, week 12, and week 16.
These are going to be focused assignments with prompts based on your reading of the textbook, the specific primary sources in the course archives website's archive, which we'll be going over when we get to Canvas, and eventually your own research. You'll upload these short papers to the module folder in Canvas by their deadlines, which are listed in the course schedule in this syllabus and are also posted in the course calendar in Canvas. The very specific details on these assignments will be coming soon, but right now I just want you to be aware that the two major things that you're doing for this class that design your grade are these module quizzes, in which you'll be doing you'll be graded for 7 out of the 7 best scores out of 9 over the course of the semester, and 4 short papers that are a minimum of 4 pages each. That's the major components of the grade. The last piece of the grade are participation points. This will make up 18% of your grade. So active participation in the weekly discussion boards is a very important part of this class. The weekly discussions will be based on a few broad, thought-provoking questions that have to do with the material that we're studying for that week, and you'll be required to integrate and analyze that material from the class in your comments and conversations. Each weekly topic will be worth up to 12 points. Responses to these will be graded will be based on the substance of your comments and responses, which includes how relevant your comments are, how thoughtful, the length of them, as well as how well you reply to comments by the professor and other students. And there are 2 due dates every week for minimum participation. That's 11:59 p.m. on Thursday nights and 11:59 p.m. on Sunday nights. If you want to get a better sense of the kind of what's expected of you in the discussion boards, the last page of the syllabus has a kind of grading system, discussion board grading system. And you can see there 3 columns. One says exemplary. This is when you do the best possible work you can do in participating. There's a satisfactory and then an unsatisfactory. Read through this, the criteria for this. Basically, for exemplary discussions, you're posting your first prompt to the material by Wednesday or Thursday. You're posting follow-up replies to other students all throughout the week. Your initial discussion prompt has at least 300 words, and it's really based on the prompt, and it substantially enhances the conversation. It's clear that you've already begun doing the reading and thinking about it critically. To be an exemplary in participation, you also replied to at least 2 other students or me on a regular basis, and the responses are constructive feedback. So you're not just going into the discussion board and saying, I agree, but you're continuing the conversation. And the time between postings indicated that students had read and considered the material before responding. You're also referencing the reading, so you're not just kind of like ad-libbing. To be satisfactory, it's a little bit less than that. Maybe you didn't post the first response by Thursday or Friday, or you didn't do enough follow-up posts by Sunday. Maybe you put several posts on there, but they all came at the same time on the last day. What we're trying to do in this discussions is have them go throughout the week. So it's really not that valuable if everybody comes in on Sunday and posts. That's why there's a deadline of Thursday and Sunday. Maybe the the comments that you posted were a little shorter than 300 words, or you replied to less students, and maybe you didn't really reference the material, and this will give you satisfactory, which could be 7 to 9 points. Exemplary is 10 to 12 points. Unsatisfactory, which is 0 to 6 points, means maybe you posted on the main topic, but you didn't post on time. You possibly responded a little bit to another student. There's not a lot of depth in your presentation, not a lot of constructive feedback. Comments are kind of barely related to the main discussion, and maybe all the posts you put came in the same 24-hour period, very close to the end of the week. So the real point of all of this, read through this carefully, but the real point of it is that you want to be discussing and participating in the conversations early and often. So that means getting started on the reading every week early, by the beginning of the week, so you can have something to say by Thursday. And we'll be talking about this more all throughout the semester. Now, getting back to the syllabus, just a little note about plagiarism. Just don't do it. Plagiarism is using another person's words or ideas, presenting them as your own. It's the highest kind of academic crime. If you don't really understand what plagiarism is, you should get in touch with me soon, and I'll be sending out some material on this to kind of to make that clearer. So you can see the grades here. Grades, your final grade for the class will be based on these three major components. First are the module quizzes. There will be 9 of these throughout the semester. They're worth 60 points each. I'll be taking your 7 highest quiz scores for the final grade, so that'll be 420 points or 42% of your grade. So quizzes are the real testing component of the class, and it keeps you up all throughout the semester. There are papers. There's 4 of those. They're worth 100 points each. That's 400 points or 40% of the grade. So together, quizzes and papers account for 82% of your grade. The rest of the grade comes from participation on the discussion boards. That's 180 points. So that is the basic breakdown of the requirements, and you're going to see these again when we go through Canvas so that everything becomes really clear. The rest of the syllabus is all based on the course schedule. Hopefully you've already taken a look at this. This course schedule is then also duplicated. It's how the modules are broken up. So every week has its own module and its own topic, beginning this week with Introduction to Global History, which you can see right here. You're watching right now, and everything is kind of laid out exactly as you want to do it with the deadlines intact. So right now you're watching the History 308 orientation video. After this, by this Friday, January 24th, you want to take the orientation quiz, which is based on this video and material in the syllabus, and then post to the intro discussion board, or the Who We Are discussion board, by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. That's the end of week 1. Then we move into week 2. And the topic will be How the World Became a Thing. You're going to watch any assigned videos for week 2 that'll be posted in the week 2 module. You're reading tradition encounters. So this is when we really start getting into the textbook, is in week 2, starting with chapter 22, and any other assigned readings for week 2 that we'll talk about. You're posting your to the discussion board by Thursday. Your first post by Thursday. So you can post as early as you want in the week, starting Monday. But definitely by Thursday, your initial post, and then follow-up replies and participating in discussion through Sunday. So there's 2 deadlines for that. And the first quiz for the class will be due on Sunday, February 2nd. So that's the very end of week 2. You'll be quizzed on everything that we did for the week, on how the world became a thing. And then as you see, it keeps going like that. We get into week 3, the birth of the Atlantic world. There's always some textbook assignment. There's always some other readings to do, and there will be assigned videos for that week. And discussion boards. So expect that for every week, that you'll have some video presentation to watch, you'll have textbook material to read, you'll have maybe other additional documents to read, you'll be posting your comments and questions on the discussion board, and taking a quiz or having some writing assignment for most of the weeks here. So as we see when we get to week 4, up top, February 10th to the 16th, the transformation of Europe. This week there will be assigned videos. You'll be watching, you'll be reading Traditions and Encounters chapter 23 and any assigned readings for that week, posting as regular by Thursday and Sunday. So every week you're posting to the discussion board to participate. But this week, instead of a quiz, it's the first paper. The first paper will be due on Sunday, February 16th. The prompt for that paper will be up very soon, and we'll be talking about that by the second week, about what you're going to be writing about for the first paper. And then we just keep going through. There's week 5. There is the normal video readings. You're posting to the discussion board by Thursday and Sunday. This week there's a quiz by the end of Sunday, by the end of the week. Week 6 is a kind of a light week where there is just a video to watch, textbook to read, and some readings, and posting to the discussion board, but there's no quiz or paper. Week 7 is quiz 4. Week 8, there's readings and paper number 2. And this goes all the way through from week 8, week 9, week 10. After week 11, we have spring break. We come back from that and continue the process. So it's a very regular kind of rhythmic process. Every week, you're doing some kind of watching a video, doing some kind of reading, definitely textbook reading, but also additional materials that I'll be posting, and you're posting to the discussion board. Many of those weeks, there's also a quiz by the end of the week. And for 4 of them, week 4, 8, 12, and 16, there is a short 4-page paper. the topics of which will be becoming clear to you very, very shortly. So that is the syllabus. That's the overview of this. I want you to take a really careful look at this, read through it, make sure that you understand it. And if you have any questions about this, post your questions to the general question and answer discussion board in Canvas, or email me directly. So the next step is to see how all of this is integrated. The syllabus is built into the structure of Canvas and how the class will work structurally. So here we are on the home page of the History 308 course webpage in Canvas. And if you're watching this video, you've already logged into Canvas and probably taken a look around. You've at least gone to the modules to find the link to the video. So what I want to do here is talk about some of the general features of Canvas, and then specifically how we're going to be using this website throughout the semester. Basically, the Canvas website is designed to mirror the syllabus that we just went over. And that's most obvious when we go to the modules section. But when you come to this home page right here, you can see that it's laid out with a couple of menus. On the extreme left-hand side, there is your dashboard and your other courses, the calendar, and then the inbox right here, which I would like you to use when you want to email me directly. Go through the inbox tool right here. Then you see a menu with home, announcements, syllabus, modules, discussions, and grades. We're going to go over these in some detail in just a second. In the middle, there is this sort of centerpiece of the home page. There will be any recent announcements you'll be able to find right at the top. I'll be posting an announcement every week about what we're doing for that week, and then all throughout the week there'll be reminders and additional information that I'll get to you through announcements. I'll also probably be emailing you constantly throughout the semester and including all this information in the videos also, so that we're in constant kind of communication back and forth. That's what's really important here. On the right hand side, this is a to-do list of just what's the most upcoming deadlines for things like orientate quizzes, discussion boards, papers, etc. So the most recent items will be listed right here. As I said, recent announcements will be at the top of the page. You can also see all the announcements as they accumulate over the course of the semester by clicking on announcements. Then we have syllabus, which you've already checked out, or if you haven't, I would really like you to. When you click on syllabus, the syllabus is right here in PDF format. You can download this, you can print it, you can access it through here, and then anything that has a due date is laid out all in chronological order on the syllabus page. So that includes all the quizzes, discussion boards, papers, etc. So this is one of the many different ways that you can constantly be informed about what's coming, what's due, requirements, etc. And then you can also access this through the calendar right here. Now, a really critical piece of probably the centerpiece of the Canvas web page is modules. So you click on modules. Modules are designed to mirror the syllabus. Modules are the work pieces in which information and assignments and folders are all stored. It's like a series of folders that mirror the syllabus and structurally organize the class. I'll collapse some of these right here for a second. So these are like big folders. When you collapse them, you can see when you click on the arrow right here, they open up. I start with course information and resources. This is where I'm going to post all kinds of resources that you can use for studying history, for formatting papers, for writing papers. It'll include videos that I've made on how to write history papers, citation style guides, how to do citations, what a primary source analysis is, etc. as we go along. So anything that's general, that's not to a specific week, but is useful through the whole semester, I'm going to be posting up here in course information and resources. The next module is archive. Under archive, there'll be two pieces, one called documents, one called museum. Documents include, well, obviously written documents, and museum will be images. This is a really important section to understand. When you click on archive, what you'll find is all the documents that we're going to use through the semester that are not your textbook. So anything that we're going to be reading and using as material for the class that's not included in the textbook will be posted here in archive. So you want to be really familiar with this. We'll just start by talking about a list of primary sources here. These are documents that are from the time period that we're studying. So for example, you see Christopher Columbus, a letter on the first voyage that was written in 1493. All of these are in PDF format. So when you click on them, you can open these up in Adobe. You can save them to your computer. You can print them. And each document, when it opens up, will include some kind of image and then information about who wrote it, what the document is, the date, an introduction to the document, and then the document itself. So this is, for example, this right here is a letter that Christopher Columbus wrote in 1493 that we'll be looking at probably in week 3. And these are supplementing, these are crucial to the readings for the class that are not to be found in the textbook. So anything that's assigned for every week, you'll have some assignment for the textbook, you'll have a video to watch, and then additional documents that I will announce weekly through the videos, through emails and announcements, so you know exactly what you have to read for each week. And anytime you hear me say, access the letter from Christopher Columbus in 1493 in the course archive, this is what I'm referring to. Under modules, the second module is the course archive. So that is a really critical place for understanding where all our documents are going to be for the semester. And then the rest of the modules are all laid out week by week. So every folder in here is for every week. If you click on week 1, what in the world is world history, you're already watching the orientation video right here. When you're done this, and after you've studied the syllabus, go in and take that orientation quiz by this coming Friday, January 24th. So this is where the quiz is right here, based on material that we're looking at in this video and based on the syllabus. And then finally there's the Who We Are discussion board, which you'll want to post your introduction to by the end of the week on Sunday. Here's some questions to think about yourself and what you might want to include to introduce yourself to the class, and then post those by Sunday, by the very end of this first week. Then when we go into week 2, anything that you need for the week will be in this module. So in week 2, for example, there will be a video called Around the World Before 1492. That video is important to watch, not just because it lays out the content and to understand the textbook readings for that week, but also because questions about that video will be included on the first quiz, which we'll be doing on Sunday, February 2nd at the end of week 2. So what you want to get used to is every week going into the week's module, you'll have a study guide for the quiz. The quiz, if there is a quiz scheduled for that week, and there will be for 9 of these weeks, it will include all the questions that you need to know for that quiz. So if you open this up, this is the study guide, but there's no mystery about what's going to be on the quiz. When week 2 starts, you'll have these 5 questions to answer, and then it tells you exactly what the quiz is based on. So the quiz is worth 60 points. It's based on the video Around the World Before 1492, the textbook chapter 22 for Traditions and Encounters. This will be due online by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, February 2nd. And here are the directions. You'll be writing at least 1 paragraph, at least, in your own words, with as much detail from the readings and the video as possible in response to each of the following questions. So you'll have these questions. There'll be 5, 6, 7 questions, depending on what week it is. And you'll read these questions and then use those to guide your reading and guide your watching of the video. So the first thing you want to do is open up the study guide for that week. Some weeks will have a paper due and there'll be a different kind of study guide for that week. But the study guide gives you everything that you need to know for that week. And the questions for the quizzes laid out specifically so you don't have any mystery about what you're reading. Then when you do the reading of chapter 22, it breaks it down for you. So you're reading chapter 22 of the textbook, the section called The Exploration of the World's Oceans. And here's the question: what are the key explanations offered in the textbook for why and how Europeans began expanding overseas in the 15th to 18th centuries? That one is worth 10 points. And you write at least a paragraph in answer to it. So you see, there's no mystery. This is just about studying the material and doing and thinking about it using these questions. There's no time limit once you're ready to take the quiz. So as soon as you've watched the video for that week and you've studied the material, you open up quiz number 1 and you can take that quiz. And you'll have until 11:59 on the Sunday that it's due to put in all your answers. Also that week, every week, you'll want to go to the, you'll want to participate in the discussions. So the week 2 discussion, how the world became a thing. You'll want to post your first sort of questions and initial comments, initial posts based on the reading of the material by that Thursday. So you really get started every week on Monday. By Thursday, you're going to have something to say and reply to the prompt. And then by the Sunday of that week, you're replying to other students. So you're participating in the discussion. And then it goes all the way through for every week. In week 4, there'll be a paper due, there'll be a prompt there, and a discussion, all the way till week 16 when the final paper number 4 is due. So this is the basic layout right here. As I said, you can see this is mirroring exactly what's in the syllabus. So when you open up the syllabus and take a look at that, you'll see that it is the modules are built directly around that. And that is the basic layout of the Canvas page. What I really want you to do is to study that syllabus after having watched this video and all the information that you've gotten from this video. The questions in the orientation quiz are based on your understanding of what was in this video and on the syllabus, including ideas of when things are due, what are the basic requirements of the class. And so as soon as you're ready, by this coming Friday, January 24th at 11:59 p.m., make sure to open up the orientation quiz and take that quiz. So you'll see there's 12 questions. The 12 questions are based on the orientation video, What in the World is World History, that we're just watching right now, and the course syllabus. Watch that video very closely all the way through, study the course syllabus, take some notes, and be sure to take this quiz by 11:59 p.m. on Friday, January 24th to remain enrolled in the class. So as soon as you're ready, you take the quiz and you put in your answers. That is the basic layout. That's the basic idea. I really want to stress that I want all of you to do really well in this class. I'm looking out for all of you. So stay in constant communication with me. I'm going to be in communication with you all throughout the week, every week, through emails, through discussion boards, through announcements. And you can also email me directly if you're confused about any of this, if you have questions about any of this. I would really like you, under discussions here, you'll see a board called General Questions and Answers about the course. This is where I would like you to post any questions that you have about the general layout. For example, assignments and course content, anything that you think would be really valuable questions for the rest of the students in the class to see answered, post it here in the discussion, General Questions and Answers about the course. If there's something more private or of a personal nature or related to grades, then you want to use the inbox tool over here to email me directly. So again, I hope you all do really well. Any questions that you have about any of this setup, please email me immediately or post it to that discussion board. So congratulations, you are all now officially oriented to History 308. The last thing I want to do in this video is just talk about what comes next, the specific things that you need to do for week 1, and then an overview of what's going to be coming up in week 2. So for week 1, the next thing you're going to want to do is buy or rent the textbook. If you haven't already, make sure to get Traditions and Encounters. Make sure it's volume 2, the 6th edition. You get the hard copy, the ebook, any version that you like, as long as it's the correct volume. That's from 1500 to the present, and it's the correct edition, the 6th edition. After that, maybe before or after that, make sure to take the orientation quiz by 11:59 on Friday, January 24th. The 12 questions in that quiz are based on what you just saw in this video and also the syllabus. So go over the syllabus a couple times, make sure that you are sort of aware of everything that was in the video, and then take that quiz by January 24th. Introduce yourself to the class on the Who We Are discussion board, and do that by the last day of week 1, which is Sunday, by 11:59 on Sunday, January 26th. So this is all the things to do for the first week, the introductory week to the course. When we jump into week 2, we'll be getting right into history, and week 2 starts on Monday, January 27th. For that week, you'll be watching the video Around the World Before 1492. That video will be posted by Monday morning to start us off and kick off the material for week 2. The reading for that week is chapter 22 of Traditions and Encounters. That's why you need to have the textbook by the time we get into week 2. All the questions in the first quiz will be based on this video and this textbook chapter. Start to do the reading as early as you can in the week, beginning Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, so that you can post your first comments on the week's material to the week 2 discussion board by 11:59 on Thursday, January 30th. So that's the first due date for participation in the discussion boards. Will be Thursday, January 30th. And so you want to get started on the material, watching the video and reading the textbook as early as you can in the week. Take quiz number 1 by 11:59 on Sunday. That's the last day of week 2, Sunday, February 2nd. The questions will be posted in the week 2 module, so you'll have them ahead of time. There's a study guide. They'll also be mentioned in the video for Around the World Before 1492, and you can use those questions to guide your reading, and then writing a paragraph on each question as your answer, at least a paragraph, and then getting that quiz in by 11:59 on Sunday, February 2nd. And then finally on that same Sunday, by that deadline, you'll want to have posted all your replies and follow-up comments on the discussion board. But make sure to be in the discussion board, frequently, so it's not just all coming right at the last minute on Thursday and Sunday. That's the kind of point of having the discussion. And I will be giving you more information about all of this step by step as we go through. So the next step is the orientation quiz. And if you have any questions or concerns about any of this, post those to the general questions and answers discussion board or email me directly. Other than that, welcome to History 308. I'm really looking forward to this semester and working with you online.